Caroline Dowd-Higgins. Thank you for listening to Your Working Life, my podcast series featuring thought leaders in the career and personal growth arena. Now, I know that you spend a significant portion of your life at work, so my goal is to provide you with tools, inspiration, and resources so you can enjoy your career and love your life. And I am delighted to welcome my very special guest to the show today, Elise Runde Voss. Elise, welcome.
Hi, Caroline. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited to jump into a great conversation, but I want to tell our listeners all about you first. Elise Runde Voss is the CEO and co-founder of Upscore, a career discovery platform that matches candidates with opportunities suited specifically to them and automatically learns their career interests. Now, before co-founding Upscore, Elise worked at Point 72 Asset Management, a $10 billion multi-strategy investment firm. And during her time at Point 72, she played central roles in helping launch two different business divisions, the firm's Big Data Strategy Group and its multi-sector research platform. It was at Point 72 where Elise first collaborated with Upscore co-founders Dan Elbaz and Robert Britt. And together, Dan, Robert, and Elise experienced firsthand the challenging process of recruiting and hiring a team, which led to the idea for Upscore. So, Elise, let's jump right into a juicy conversation. Tell me, what are the main challenges that job seekers are facing today? Because it's a new employment world.
It really is. It really is. And it's a very noisy market.
Yeah.
One statistic that always surprises me is that, and when you think of it intuitively, like when you're out with your friends or family members, you're oftentimes hearing them say that, they're not exactly happy in their jobs or they don't love what they do. And the statistics that it still surprises me is that 75% of professionals in the U.S. are open to or looking for new jobs. Yet job openings are at a peak high, which is it just goes to show the huge disconnect. And I think that is very reflective of how noisy the market is. The two sides of the market can't find each other. So you have people out there that don't necessarily love their jobs, and it's my theory and hope that there's a right job out there for everyone. And as you said earlier, we spend so much of our lives working. We should be doing what we love. So I think that in itself is just a huge challenge, and that's something we're very focused on, is sort of eliminating that noise.
Right.
And trying to help employers who want really great candidates, and candidates who want really great jobs find each other.
So it's really the disconnect between supply and demand, talent and employers. So tell me, how did the idea for Upscore come to be?
Sure. So my two co-founders and I worked together at our previous company, and we were all in different areas of the firm, and we were sort of pulled together to start what the firm was calling their Big Data Strategy Group. So it was really interesting. And my background was not in big data, more fundamental research and business development. And the two gentlemen that became my co-founders eventually were both data scientists. And so they pulled us together to start this Big Data Strategy Group. And it's funny, the group had nothing to do with recruiting or hiring, but it ended up having everything to do with recruiting or hiring. We were, the mandate of the group was to take large data sets, unstructured data sets, and try and find investment signals. And so a large part of what we were tasked to do is to hire a team of about 25 folks, anywhere from business development to senior people to data scientists. And we found the process to be extremely frustrating and arduous, and the technology we were using was just outdated. And there's great companies out there like LinkedIn, which is a fantastic professional network, and I recommend everyone to be on it. But for actual recruiting purposes, we were still finding that it was a lot of manual effort. And so we kind of sat back and we actually had shared an office together. And during that time, we ended up hiring. We brought about 20 people onto the team. But about 6 months before we left, we sat back and thought, that was really a lot harder than it needed to be. And we're using all this amazing data science technology for investment purposes. Why can't we think of an application for recruiting and hiring? And that's when the wheels started turning. And then we thought about it from the job seeker point of view, and we all three had been job seekers at some point, and especially before I had moved to the new company, I had been actively looking for a role. And it is a lot of work. And finding a job and finding your dream job shouldn't be a second job. So that was sort of the catalyst for, when we initially started kind of thinking of ways that we could fix this problem.
I love how all of you experienced it from both sides, as the candidate and the experienced employee within the organization looking for talent, because I think it really helps the potential user of Upscore understand your sensitivity to both sides, right?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I had always, as a job seeker, I never understood the hiring process from the employer's point of view, and never had thought that they were experiencing almost the exact same problem, where it's this manual effort and a lot of inefficiencies. So it was very interesting to experience it from the other side.
So, Elise, before we get into the nuts and bolts of Upscore, because I really want to focus on that as a career and executive coach, I am over the moon about this new tool and eager to share to everybody, because I think it's essential, and I'm appreciative on so many levels. But I'd love to get your take on advice for job seekers and more generally professionals who might be open to a career move. That stat that you mentioned in the beginning, that 75% of Americans are open to consider something new. That's staggering.
Yeah, definitely. So, one thing that I constantly come across, and this has more so been in conversations with our users and friends and family when they're thinking about a job move, is one step that's oftentimes skipped is fully thinking through what they want.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, I think it sounds like it's intuitive and that would be obvious. But I think the first move sometimes is to start looking for, the next move and starting to network and apply for jobs, but not really taking a step back and thinking through, what don't I like about my current role? What skills do I want to gain? What do I want to, it's a tough thing to know. No one really knows exactly where they're going to be in 5 years or 10 years, but, kind of doing that exercise and understanding, what, what you can do at this point to get to that next level. I almost, it's funny, I always hesitate to even say that that's the biggest mistake, because it seems obvious, but I feel like in the conversations I have is, people sort of, they want to run to the next job.
Yeah.
They want to find their dream job, but they don't know what they're running to.
Well, you are spot on, because the basic tenets of career development starts with self-assessment. What do I value?
Mm-hmm.
What am I interested in? What about my personality and my strengths? And you're right, so many people skip to the salary and the job title, and they just think, okay, you're replacing one with another, and
Exactly.
that's not a great way to start. So thank you for mentioning that. Recruiting and hiring has really changed dramatically in the past 5 and even 10 years. What are your thoughts about technology in the marketplace? Because I agree with you, LinkedIn is a great tool. However, it's not the only tool out there, and we should really be using more. And Upscore is certainly part of that toolkit.
Right. It's interesting. So on one hand, I feel like it has changed a lot with platforms like LinkedIn. I mean, never before were we able to go onto a site and find a company we liked and then find connections there that way. So I think LinkedIn is amazing to find referrals and people at the companies that you potentially want to move to. One thing that I think is really interesting, though, and it's almost on the opposite end, how the market hasn't changed, is there's been this proliferation of applicant tracking systems, which is basically what companies use to track candidates. But at the end of the day, these are just databases where the processes are tracked. And the technologies out there, even LinkedIn, Indeed, a lot of the larger incumbents are still using simple keyword matching and basic filtering. Um, so, for instance, this is kind of a funny example, but when we were using our applicant tracking system at our previous firm, if you wanted to get very specific and you wanted a developer who had worked at Apple because you're building an iOS app, and you go in and you keyword match Apple developer, it'll pull random things like apple picking on my resume and my interests.
Yeah,
Things like
yeah.
that where you get a lot of just completely irrelevant results. And instead of focusing on, high quality candidates and making the interview process really robust and, putting time and effort into, really going after the right prospects on both sides, but on more for the hiring managers and talent acquisition folks, they're spending a lot of time with this simple keyword matching where, that leads to more manual effort. So,
Elise, I'd love to get your opinion about the resume. Is the classic resume dead? And how do talent acquisition teams and hiring managers, because you've been on that side of the fence, evaluate candidates today?
it's interesting. We hear all the time that the resume is dead, and not to go back to LinkedIn, but a lot of it I think is because there is social media now, and we sort of have these profiles online.
Right.
But I firmly disagree with that. I do not think the resume is dead, and a lot of that is because of the conversations. Well, and what we experience firsthand, but the conversations we've had with, we've talked anywhere from, recruiting leaders at Fortune 500 companies to, very small startups, and the resume is still the snapshot
Yeah.
of what the candidate has done, their journey. And I think it's so important that candidates spend a lot of time really being able to tell their story, and geared towards the type of role that they want, because we've all done a lot of things, and there's always a way to sort of frame it, and there may always be some missing pieces as far as skills and things like that. But I think that, um, I don't feel, and the resume may evolve into more a digital format, and at Upscore we'll evolve along with that. But if you think about, say, it's like LinkedIn, the candidate's profile doesn't have a lot of information on it.
Right.
Typically, like we've found, 1 in 10 or so probably has enough information to really understand what the person has done in their previous roles, and that makes sense. I mean, a lot of people, we don't love to broadcast, you know every detail of our professional lives, on the internet. But I definitely think the resume is fully alive, and I think it still is the key component for the initial screening process, sort of at the beginning of the funnel, by which talent acquisition professionals use to evaluate, candidates. But we are hearing a lot more about, pulling in other types of tools, such as personality. I mean, and
Right.
personality tests aren't new, but new forms of that, and really trying to understand culture fit. But I still think that happens more in the interview process, understanding fit. So at least from our end, what we're seeing, and the conversations we're having, and we've talked to, over 120 or so, recruiting leaders, that the resume is still alive and well.
Got it. Got it. At least for now. And I agree. It's an appetite whetter, to entice
Yes.
them to want to learn more about you. So let's talk about Upscored. How is it different from other job search options like third party recruiters or job boards or online talent markets? What makes you unique?
Yeah, so we're very focused on, one, quality over quantity, and a seamless experience. So, we have a lot of data science and, heavy technology going on in the background. And while that's integral to our platform, our algorithms were trained on over 500,000 resumes. We now have over 16,000 job descriptions on the site, which is exciting, and we're using
Yeah.
all of this data to make the process more efficient. But the main goal and our vision is to make, for both sides, we're we call ourselves advocates for the job seeker because we think that's the best place to start, but to make the process more seamless. So we have automated scoring where the candidate goes to the site, uploads their resume. There's no filling out of a profile. It takes less than 30 seconds, so it's very quick and easy. And then once the candidate uploads their resume, that resume then is scored based on their work experience, skills, education against the 16,000 job descriptions and growing that we have on our site. And then they're given the 25 best suited. Once they see these roles that are based on skills and experience, we have a Pandora or Spotify like feature by which they can give a thumbs up or thumbs down to the jobs they like, and then our machine actually learns from that. So their next batch is more curated. So it starts to get extremely personalized, and that's the goal. Is we want to tell you, here's what you qualify for, but we know that's maybe not exactly what you want. Maybe you want to make an industry move. So then tell us what you want with a simple thumbs up, thumbs down, and we'll learn from that. So
that's the game changer.
Kind of nice. Yeah. A lot of the problem is with, for instance, third-party recruiters, or there's other platforms out there where you sort of give your information, but then you kind of have to sit and wait, and you can't be proactive. And on one end, and then on the other end, there's sites like Indeed where it's extremely time-consuming because you're going through, hundreds and hundreds of jobs to find jobs you qualify for. We kind of want to converge those two experiences so you can instantly see jobs you qualify for, and then you can start to act on that.
Nice. So, Elise, tell me, who is the target audience? Obviously, you've got the employer side in that you've got the job postings, which are amazing. But are these entry-level candidates, are these experienced hires, executive levels, or do you run the gamut?
Great question. So one thing right now is we're building out by geography. So we are focused in the New York area to start, just because that's where we're located.
Sure.
And there's definitely not a shortage of high quality candidates and really exciting job opportunities. So from a geographic standpoint, we're here now, and we'll be expanding quickly to other cities. But as far as the specific type of candidate, we're best suited for, we're not necessarily focusing on undergrads and entry levels. We see a huge opportunity for sort of that lateral hire where you've been in your job for 2 years and you like it, you've gotten this great experience, but you want to take that next step. So about 2 years of experience up to sort of the senior manager level. And while C-level executives, I think we can eventually expand to sort of different segments of the market. The C-level executives, I feel like that's kind of a different type of recruiting.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So we want to focus on what the technology is best for, and it's sort of that that middle ground. So like product managers, senior data scientists. It's both for technical and non-technical roles. So business development, sales executives. So it does run the gamut as far as both non-technical and technical positions. But because the technology looks at your work experience, it's best applied to folks that have a little bit of experience under their belt.
Got it. So the company's brand new, and you've got to have goals and long-term dreams. Tell me, where do you see Upscore going in the near future?
Sure. Well, eventually the vision is to be the go-to destination when you're either actively looking for a job, but also more importantly, passively looking.
Yeah.
And really even not even looking at all. You never know when there could be an opportunity out there that is perfect for you. So it's sort of our dream to make it kind of, it can be a set and forget situation where if you're not necessarily looking now, but you may be in the future, you can go to this site. And if you're actively looking, it'll help you efficiently find a job. So the grand vision is to really become, the destination to make better, high quality matches for both employers and for candidates.
That's amazing. And Elise, as a career coach, I advise the clients with whom I work to always be considering their exit strategy or their growth strategy. So I
It's
get,
so smart.
yeah, you just have to be at the ready. Even if you're
Hmm.
happy where you are, right? Just be in control of that next career move. So what a great resource. So tell us how we can find you online, how we can get to Upscored online, and how to get started.
Absolutely. So we're at www.upscored.com. It's upscored with a D. And we can also, we'd love to have your listeners follow us on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn. So we're on all of the social media platforms, and we're putting out a lot of content, on advice, tips, tricks, hacks, all kinds of things to make the job search more efficient. So, and we do have a new product that we're rolling out, that's going to be kind of exciting. It'll, because we are scoring the candidates, we want to give transparency to the candidates. So it'll actually be able to show candidates where their skill gaps are. So one, if it's not on their resume, they'll know to put it on there. Two, if it isn't, then they'll know, we'll be offering ways to improve whatever skill set they may lack, or ways to find classes and things like that. So a lot of
Fantastic.
exciting stuff coming up, but yeah, would love to have any of your listeners check us out and give it a whirl.
Elise, what a joy to have you on the show. I wish you great success with Upscored and your co-founders. What an exciting resource. And as I said, I am truly grateful for what you're doing, and I will be highly recommending not only to the listening audience, but all the clients with whom I work to check out Upscored. So thank you. Thank you.
Well, Caroline, thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure and a blast speaking with you. So I appreciate you taking the time to have me on your show.
Absolutely. And you take good care. And
Thank you.
I want to thank all of our listeners for tuning in to Your Working Life, where my goal is to help you design your career destiny so it doesn't happen by default. Career and life satisfaction is possible, and it's time to embrace what you love doing so you can do more of it. Your Working Life is now available on iTunes, YouTube, Podbean, and Stitcher. Leave me a comment because I always appreciate hearing from my listeners. I'm Caroline Dowd-Higgins. Take good care.